Hello, this is Monique McDonald. And if you're looking for more one-on-one help with your voice and how to make it magnetic, I want to invite you to check out my coaching packages at themagneticvoice.com. Then click Transform with Monique and book a complimentary connection call. Let's see if we can find a package for you that will fit all of your needs. I'm so grateful for your listening to the Magnetic Voice podcast, and I can't wait to meet you and continue the conversation. Take care. See you soon.
Welcome to the Magnetic Voice, here on the Experience of the Soul podcast channel, a show where speakers and singers learn how to be more magnetic and align their voices to the divine within. Today, episode 71, Inspiration Fills My Being. And now your host, Monique McDonald.
Hello and welcome to the Magnetic Voice podcast. My name is Monique McDonald, and I am here with the beautiful Shannon Kropf. Hi, Shannon.
Hello, Monique. It's lovely to see you again today. Even though at a distance, we had our one magical moment, and we're at a distance now, but it's still lovely to see you.
It's lovely to see you as well, and we are so happy to be with all of you listening today. Shannon, can you believe we're almost at the end of August?
I feel like I say this every time we record, but I'm just like, what has happened to this year? It's incredible. I don't understand what's happening.
It is. It's the funny thing. And it always reminds me of being a kid and the year going by so slow because we're waiting for summer, right? And then summer comes and then it just flies by because we're having so much fun.
Right.
So today this is one of my favorite topics, and it's something that I think about a lot, being the magnetic voice and all about voice. And so I'm going to start with a quote, which I find just fascinating. The quote comes from St. Augustine, and it says, "What we are looking for is what we are looking with."
Interesting.
Ooh. Yeah, so it's something that has always been so interesting in my life, in my work with others. We are often so consumed with looking at others and comparing ourselves to others, looking at the world and sort of measuring ourselves against the world and what is going on in the world, and forgetting that who we are and our relationship to ourselves is what is the real true measure. Right. And that we are looking out for answers outside of ourselves instead of looking at what we're looking with, which is our soul, which is our being. So let's just take a deep breath and breathe that in.
And meditation.
And cut to meditation. No more talking necessary.
Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah, it's also, when I was singing, I was always often told it by my coaches that, well, my mother put it this way: "Why are you gilding the lily?" And I would say, "What do you mean?
What do you mean?"
And I was trying to do the emotion
Right.
rather than just being the emotion
Right.
of whatever song I was singing,
Yeah.
of trusting that the color of my voice and and just feeling it within me would be enough for people
Right.
to pick it up.
Right.
And that when I would sort of try to demonstrate it to others, it was too much.
Right. Well,
And
at that point, it's not authentic.
well, yeah, exactly. And why isn't it authentic? Because it's not the pure thing anymore.
Right. We've glued stuff to it.
Yeah. We've glued stuff to it. I love that.
Well, we think if we're going to make a macaroni diorama for our moms, the macaroni must have glitter on it because everybody else's does, right? Where did that come from? I don't know.
Well, and there's nothing wrong with glitter, right? But
Oh, no. Oh, no.
but there is something about, when we're speaking in front of people or singing in front of people or just having conversation, there is the need or the idea that I need to put more
Mm-hmm.
because just me isn't enough. And I am not enough is one of those
Oh, yeah.
universal limiting beliefs that
Right.
most of us carry,
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
And, you know, it's something that is near and dear to my heart, especially now. I was a friend of mine invited me to MoMA, the
Mm-hmm.
Metropolitan Museum here of Modern Art in New York City. And she's a member, so I got
Oh,
to go
well,
before any the masses did,
yes, of
which was
course.
super cool. They were having an exhibit of Van Gogh,
Oh, wow.
and I it's not my first time standing before these masterpieces, right?
Right.
But I did warn her. I said, we've been friends for years, but we've never been to a museum together. So I
Right.
just want to warn you.
Just so you know what's fixing to happen.
I tend to spend a lot longer than most people in front of these things.
Oh my God, Quantum Sister.
Are you
Dave took
the
me to the
same?
Dali Museum in St. Petersburg, and he was just like, oh my God, could we move on to the next picture, please?
Oh,
Sorry,
by the
go
way,
ahead.
love that museum.
Oh,
Yeah,
it's
that's a
beautiful.
little treasure that most people don't know
Right,
is in St.
right.
Petersburg, Florida.
Yes, go there.
Yes. And so I was struck. I was struck, well, the art itself, we'll talk about that in a minute, but I was struck by people's conversations.
Interesting.
And I realized it's why we do this.
Hmm.
People were like saying things like, "Ugh, I hate this one. I like this one so much better. It's much more him." And it's just so funny when you think about it, right? That
Like,
people are going to have their opinions about
yes.
Van Gogh and what
Right,
is more him or not him.
right. How
And
ridiculous.
and when we are looking at that, right? And we when we sort of are outside of ourselves and we realize that even the masters, even
Yes,
the masterpieces, people have their own thoughts and opinions about it.
yes.
And he cannot speak up for himself, right?
Right, right.
His work stands alone.
Right. It's complete and it stands alone.
And I feel like this is such an important lesson for us.
Hmm.
because so often we're trying to somehow convince people that we're worthy of attention, that we are good enough to be whatever it is we're trying to be.
Right.
And when I was listening to the critics, right?
Right.
In the museum, and they weren't critics, they were just people.
Right.
And I was having a similar conversation with a client of mine yesterday who did her first ever talk in public.
Oh, wow.
And this is the thing, right? She called me right after the talk and I said, well, how did it go? And she said, I nailed it. I did better than I've ever done. And she was so full of the moment and so happy with the moment. And then they took her talk because it was going to be televised and edited it.
Oh, geez.
And
that almost never ends well.
So then she sends me the edited version, and then we had our session yesterday.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, it wasn't good enough. It was horrible, in fact.
Wow.
And this one said this, and this person said that. And I realized this is the thing, right? This is the piece of being human,
right,
and standing up and away from the herd to be seen.
Yeah.
Because when you're in the moment and you're feeling the energy exchange, it's one thing.
Right.
But when you go back and look at it with that editor's eye, right? Or your own critical eye, you're looking for something, and something will always be always be missing. I mean, you're a musician, you know what it's like. You're having this experience as you're creating the music on stage, and then you see the video and hear the music.
Yes.
And all of a sudden, it's not good enough.
Right. Right.
I just want to take another inhale and exhale.
I have so much to say about this.
I bet you do.
And I don't know if I should. I have so much to say about this. Yeah. Let's just inhale, shall we?
Yeah, let's inhale. So, this is what I know. We all have within us endless possibility. We all have a place within us where inspiration comes from. The divine.
Yeah.
The divine within us, where all creation comes from. And there's a reason why when you write a book, you send it to an editor.
Right.
You don't edit your own creation.
Right.
Now, it doesn't mean that the editor is the end all be all either, right?
Right.
Because everybody's looking at it from their own wellspring of creativity and life experience. And so our work as creators, made in the image of the great creator, is to have the conversation and energy exchange within. Because that's what inspires us. Sometimes we're inspired by others.
Sure.
I walked out of that museum so inspired.
Yeah.
So full I felt like my cup was full.
Mm-hmm.
And interestingly enough, I could feel this man's pain
Mm-hmm.
through
Absolutely.
every stroke.
Mm-hmm.
He felt so misunderstood,
Mm-hmm.
and his own striving for excellence of what I call trying to translate,
Right.
right? That inspiration that came from within into the manifestation in the world.
Mm-hmm.
For him, it was a work of art. For us, it's how we express ourselves,
Right.
whether it's through art, through speech, through singing, through performing, however it is, through finance, whatever your thing is.
Right.
Um, how do we translate that inspiration into the world and then just let it be?
Right.
When you don't get the validation.
Mm-hmm.
And even when you're dead,
Right.
even when you're dead
y'all,
and gone and people are looking at your stuff,
y'all need to chill.
well, that's the trick, right? That's the hat trick.
Right.
How to be in the inspiration
Mm-hmm.
enough to have that communion with that mighty force of inspiration.
Mm-hmm.
And trust that process so much that you aren't attached.
Right. Right.
The idea here is no matter what they're saying, people are still talking about it. People
Right.
are still coming to see it.
Yes.
People are trying to understand it.
Mm-hmm.
It was such an interesting display because it was called Expression of Cypresses, and he was trying to paint the cypress trees that he was seeing, and there were studies, and he kept trying to do it justice, and all of these paintings and drawings were him working on translating not only what he saw, but what he felt.
Sure. Absolutely.
Right. And that the cypress, and this wasn't spoken about so much, but the cypress tree is often a symbol of death.
Wow.
And how they're tall, and so they're connected to the earth as well as heaven, and
Right.
and all of this symbology that was imbued in the whole idea that he was trying to express. But not only that, he was towards the end of his life,
Wow.
and I don't know if he knew that or not, but that it became his obsession to express this in the way that he felt it should be expressed.
Wow.
To do justice to this tree.
Right. Right.
And to whatever that meant to him. And so as we take another deep breath, the etymology of the word inspiration means breathe into, the root of the word. And so often we are breathing life into our expressions and our ideas. And my mother used to put it this way when we would have a voice lesson, because of course, as you know, speaking and singing is all about breathing. And there's a saying that singers are really truly deep breathers.
Right. Yeah.
And my mother used to put it this way: we're in charge of the inhale, but God is in charge of the exhale.
Interesting.
And I always
Yeah.
found that so interesting, because it's like we inhale the inspiration, right, from within. But when we get into trouble is when we try to mess with the exhale.
Right.
When we try,
Right.
that goes back to sort of gilding the lily, because we think just exhaling isn't enough.
Right.
We have to add this or that in order to feel that what we're saying is worthwhile, we're worthy of being listened to. If we get a message that's moving through us that we need to express in whatever way we express these things. But we forget that we ourselves are filled with God's brilliance, God's power, God's creativity. And when we inhale, we are inspired. That's inspiration.
Right. Right.
And when we're looking outside of ourselves for that acknowledgement, validation, of course, it's the natural way. It's like,
Sure.
I'm here, but does anybody know I'm here?
Right. Yeah.
So these are the weird things I think about.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the time of we're approaching, the summer is
Waning.
the summer is wailing. It's time for the trees, at least up here, right?
Yep.
Shortly, in a few weeks, they're going to start turning colors.
Oh, I miss that.
Yeah. And as we realize that we are part of this process, that every time we breathe in, we're breathing in life.
Yeah.
And every time we exhale, we're releasing what is not that.
Right.
And when we stand in front of these masterpieces, whether it's a work of art by Van Gogh or the trees in the park or the sun reflecting on the river, to remember that we are part of that, and that greatness is within us. Every single breath gives us another opportunity to be inspired by that divine within. Because as it leaves our body through our voice, no one can say it like us.
Right.
Right? Because it's moving through your body, your life experience. So even though, Shannon, you and I might say the same thing, it has a different meaning and a different inflection, because it's moving through you and your body and your voice and your life experience. And the thing that is the same is that we are both inspired by the divine within. And we are both expressions of that divinity manifest here on earth. You and I are, and everyone within the sound of my voice today, I invite you to remember that just by inhaling and exhaling, we are inviting inspiration from the divine. All right. So I invite you to close your eyes, take a deep, centering breath, and as you breathe, open your heart and mind and soul to the divine inspiration within you. Today, I want you to breathe in a way that's different, that's imbued with the understanding that with each inhale, you are taking in more God, more you as the divine. And with each inhale, you are more yourself. So as we inhale, God is. And as we exhale, I am. Inhale, God is. And exhaling, I am. And as you continue to breathe with this new conscious awareness, know with me today that as God is, you are. You are the perfect center between heaven and earth. All that you are, everything that you express, is an extension of the divine. What would you say if you knew that? How would you speak? What would you allow to be born through you? What would you create? With every breath, you are renewed and restored back to the divine that you are. With every breath, you bring yourself into the world perfect, perfect in the perfection of you are. Whatever you are is perfect, not perfect in that frozen, not alive perfection that some of us are striving for. Just like Van Gogh, you create and you create and you create again because you are a living, breathing expression of creation itself. The only thing for you to do is to continue to be inspired and to create, to be the most you can be. Today, I want to thank you for your courage, for your willingness to continue to create. Every time you move, every time you speak, every time you breathe, you are creating. You are creation itself. I bless you. I bless all of your creations. And I know with you today that we bless and accept all that we are in gratitude for the knowledge and understanding of who we are and whose we are. We say thank you, and so it is.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of The Magnetic Voice here on the Experience of the Soul podcast channel. This channel is made possible because of listeners just like you. If you would like to support the channel with your tax-deductible contribution on an ongoing basis or through a one-time gift, head over to experienceofthesoul.com/support. The Magnetic Voice is copyright 2022 Monique McDonald, all rights reserved. Our theme music is composed by Dave Kropf and used with permission. The Experience of the Soul podcast channel is a production of 818 Studios.
Hey friends, Sean here, your Experience of the Soul producer. I want to take a moment to tell you about something truly exciting. The Soulworks online community, created by your host, Cynthia Alice Anderson, and available on the Mighty Networks app. If you're looking for a place where you can explore your spiritual path, connect with others, and grow in a meaningful way, then this is for you. Soulworks is so much more than an online community. It's a safe, inclusive space for spiritual exploration, self-discovery, and personal transformation. Inside the community, you'll find everything from uplifting spiritual studies to soul-centered growth practices, meditations, affirmations, and so much more. It's a space where you'll always be supported and never judged. The best part, membership is free. You'll have access to powerful resources, inspiring content, and a supportive group of like-minded people who are all on their own unique spiritual journeys. And if you're ready to dive deeper, there are premium options available to enhance your experience with a live Monday night talk series and extended, deeper meditations. If you're seeking a place to connect, grow, and nurture your soul, we would love to have you join us in the Soulworks community and see where this journey can take you. Visit my.soulworkscommunity.com today.